Hi, hello there. Happy Saturday. We never stream on a Saturday, but you know, sometimes we gotta make room and adjust and readjust and things like that. But yeah, hello everyone. I hope everyone's having a wonderful Saturday or whenever you're watching this, because you might be watching this in the future. Yeah, I'll go ahead and turn down the music so we can actually get started. But it's fun having playing in the background. So, hello everyone. Welcome to episode 13 of Overtures. It's crazy to think that we're already in the double digits, but very, very happy to be there. My guest today is originally from Gloucester County. I hope I pronounced that correctly, and you can correct me if not. Gloucester County, New Jersey, South Jersey. Let me just start this whole thing over again, right? Originally from Gloucester County, South Jersey, graduate of Wagner College in New York. She's currently touring North America in the National Tour of Anastasia the Musical. Previous credits include playing Rebecca Gibbs in Our Town at the Peterborough Players. I've had the pleasure of knowing today's guest for several years, and she is so talented and also very hardworking and incredibly organized. She is so giving with her fellow castmates on and off stage, and her dance technique is absolutely incredible to watch. This is Madeline Kendall. Hi.
Long time no see.
Long time no see. Yes, but like literally before this call, very long time no see.
Yeah, a long time.
Ugh.
A pandemic's worth plus some more.
Yeah, just like a little bit longer, but oh my goodness. How are you? How are you doing? I know you were saying earlier that you're packing at the moment.
I'm good. Yeah, no, I'm packing. One suitcase, one carry-on, a backpack is not enough, in my opinion.
No.
But I'm good. I'm definitely good.
Learning the tips and tricks of packing, I'm sure.
Packing cubes. That is the tip, and that is the trick. Packing cubes.
For those who are watching, just context is how we know each other. Good old Wagner College. And I'm trying to remember how we met. I feel like we met through Ruth, but I truly can't remember specifically.
I don't remember either. It might have been either Ruth or Michelle Morris.
It's very possible.
Feel like, or Michael Makowski.
Yeah. I was saying to Dana in the last episode, I feel like I kind of just met your whole class all at one time. And I was like, I can't actually discern who I met where. And it's very funny to me.
And we were a crazy class too, definitely. So.
Yeah, no, I feel like it was like oval night when you guys all returned. And I'm like, you're a new face. And then slowly but surely met you all.
Yeah, I mean, it's a small school. We were bound to, work together,
Exactly. We had several dance classes together as time went on.
Yeah.
You still live practically right across the hall too.
Yeah, when we lived in Guild.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, yeah. It was like the little like trifecta.
Yes.
Room.
We all got to like run around to each other's rooms being like, "Hi, do you have this homework?" or like whatever it was, or like this outfit piece, and it was so nice.
Or it might have been jazz too. My freshman year.
Oh, yes, because I had just like got tested into jazz too, and it was like a bunch of freshmen in the class.
With Palmer?
Yeah, Joe Palmer.
Palmer?
Yeah.
But then I switched to his later class or earlier class. But I think that's where we met was in B9. In that jazz class my freshman year, like vaguely. I mean,
and I'm trying to remember whether we were in B9 in the basement of Main Hall or whether we were like in the dance studio in the athletic center, because it like kind of like depended on the class. Who even knows these days,
It blurs together.
Classes,
it was like
you're like, I don't know. I know you were
at to stage one a couple times.
I'm like, we did tap together, and I know you were a TA for me at some point, but I truly don't even remember what style or like what it was. I feel like maybe you were a TA for a ballet class once. Maybe I don't know. Maybe I just like.
Did you do acro?
Oh. I don't know. Maybe I'm just like, oh no, she was definitely a TA.
Was it MTD?
No, because they wouldn't let me take MTD, unfortunately. But Okay. I don't know what it was, but
Criminal.
I could you have served as a TA before, so we'll just settle on that one. But of course, nonetheless, we work together on Everybody by Brandon Jacob Jenkins, directed by the good old Mickey Tenenbaum.
Okay.
I've had a few people on thus far from the cast, and of course, as soon as I say that, I'm forgetting everyone. But I'm having LB on next week, so I'll get a
Oh,
chance to talk to
LB,
him.
LB, Kevin, Savannah, Bill. It was like, oh my God,
Mhm.
it was such a crazy show.
Such a crazy show, but
But like
it was
honestly, the
so
highlight of
much
my
fun.
Wagner career ever. Like
Yeah.
that
No,
was
it
my
was
favorite show.
yeah, I still think about that production all the time, and I also, like it's amazing to me how we were able to pull it together, because like
I literally don't even know.
yeah oh, it was Angie I was talking to, obviously, but we were commenting how she's like, "Yeah, no, I lucked out. I only had my one part to
Literally,
memorize."
she's like, I had my one part, and most of it was directing and screaming and telling people to run around and
Yep,
get naked. That was her
exactly.
job. I
Exactly,
forgot
but
about that part until now. Oh my
oh my
God.
god. But also at the same time, like, it was such a beautifully poignant show and, like,
Oh yeah.
such a beautiful, like, group of humans.
I would
Um,
love to see more theaters doing it
yeah, I
because it
100%
is
agree.
so fun, so hard, but it's
Yeah.
really well written
And for
and
context for
just
anyone watching and who's like, what is this play? I've heard it mentioned before." As a little small recap, it's a retelling of the Everyman Tale from morality plays, but essentially, um death comes to every man and is like, "Okay, time to go." And he's like, "Okay, but can I bring a few people?" And he's like, "I don't know if you can, sure, go for it." But of course everyone says no. Yada yada yada. But in Brandon Jacob Jenkins retelling, the five roles of let's see if I can name them all. Everybody, friendship, kinship, cousin,
hmm
stuff.
Yep.
Beautiful. All of these five roles are determined by a lottery every night, which means I know I get chills thinking about it too.
I'm like,
So the five
ah.
actors who are considered the somebodies drew their name at the top of the show and went, okay, guess I'll play this one tonight. So you memorized all the parts.
It was real too. Like we
Yeah.
really did
Yeah,
pick
we didn't fake it. We're
a
like, come back
random
again if
piece
you
of
think we're
paper.
faking.
Like people were like, "Oh, did you guys plan it?" And I'm like, "No."
No.
You wouldn't
You're
know
like,
why
I would
we looked
you're
so
like, if
good. We
I
were scared.
you're like, if I you're like, if I got to choose it, I wouldn't have played everybody 3 times during our run.
Literally, I felt so bad. I was like, "Oh no, someone else should do it." I think Kevin played was a kinship or cousin. Oh, but he was so good as both.
Yeah.
But like literally like 4 or 5 times.
It might have been friendship because I remember him being really, really good at friendship.
And like we would like if we were the other character, sometimes we would switch like towards like the end of our run because we'd be like, okay, like I played kinship like 4 times. Like, can I please play stuff instead?
Well, and it was fun because after a while, like in my brain, I started to go, okay, each of the actors are like strongest in like one of these roles. And it was fun to sort of be like, oh, if we could get this combination, it would be like
Yeah.
perfect and everyone would enjoy it so much.
How many combinations were there again? Like,
Because there's 5 roles, and so,
yeah,
like, all of it multiplied, there's 125 different combinations.
absolutely not.
And I
And we
spent
never
and it was
repeated
funny because
one.
I was on the assistant technical I was assistant director,
Yes.
and because of that, I was like, "Huh," and I wrote them all out.
You
So I
did,
could
and you
get
were like,
because I was trying to
we
see as many
never
we could
copied.
yeah.
We never
No,
did it again, repeated one again.
I think the only time we repeated that Bill caught this, I didn't, but he caught it where it was like one rehearsal very
Ugh,
early on and then one performance repeated.
okay.
But other than that, never repeated, which
Well,
was
I didn't know anything
insane.
early on in the rehearsal process, so that doesn't count.
No, that's okay. None of us did. None of us knew what we were in for.
We
Like
literally, I
Mickey
remember
was
getting
very
the
much
script,
like, yeah, like
and Mickey's
Mickey
like,
was
I
like,
don't
you
really
should start
know.
memorizing now. And you're like, cool,
Yeah.
I don't start rehearsals for another 2 months. I should be fine, right?
Oh my God. And then get to work with him again was so cool. He's such a cool director.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm
Yeah.
trying to remember what was the production that you guys did with him
Love
after
Sick.
Lovesick,
John
yes.
Carey Annie.
I heard such good things about that show.
No, it was so good. And it was funny. It was kind of also like a kind of spazzy show in the sense where
Yeah.
it's like there was just a bunch of different scenes and like you were just in like random scenes. So some people's
Mhm.
scenes were back to back, some people's scenes were like beginning and end. So it was like definitely kind of like, oh, okay, what are we doing? What's up? But no, that was a really, really cool show. He came in and workshopped it with us, actually.
Yeah, John Ciriani himself came
Yes,
in, yeah.
which was like so cool. And he was
That's
like, oh,
wild.
the one scene you're doing, the lesbian scene, was supposed to be an Almost Maine, but I took it out. And I was like,
Oh,
okay.
okay.
He's so funny.
Oh,
He's like,
that's
I
so
don't really like
fun.
this show. He himself said, he's like, yeah, I don't really like it. It's just kind of like a modge of a bunch of just scenes. And I was like,
He's like, eh. And you're like,
okay.
cool, thanks. I hope
I was like,
you
I
like
like
our
it.
version of it.
Yeah, I'm like, are we good? Or
Yeah,
he's
I
just
mean,
being nice.
I hope in this in workshopping it with you all, maybe he gained a new appreciation for his own work. But
No, yeah, it was so fun, and he made it so fun. We ate pizza. It was very, very weird, but
how,
very good.
how long did you get to work with him for?
Just one night.
Oh, okay. That's
Yeah,
fun. Yeah.
that was really
And I'm
cool.
sure it was, like, nice because like, a certain place in the process where you're like, "I can actually
Hmm.
play this," as opposed to, like,
Yeah,
earlier on where you're still looking at the script and that kinda thing.
no, for sure. Yeah, I like lived there in stage one, my little home. I made a little
Ugh,
home there,
yeah, no, love me a good black box theater moment. Like,
especially
that
that one.
yeah,
And the
that always
bathroom.
becomes my so cold. No, that definitely became my home in many ways too. Like, I think
No, for sure.
everyone had their the little places in Wagner where we're like, okay, this is like my home space. And so many lovely, lovely humans who came out of Wagner found a home in stage one for one reason
Oh
or
yeah.
another.
Oh my goodness, our little black box in like the woods in a corner.
Yeah, yeah. So out of the way. But
Literally.
look, if you got to park at Wagner, like park back there. No one looks. No one looks back there.
That's so true.
Oh my god.
Oh my gosh.
But I always say this for every guest. I don't know that we've ever talked about this because I never like sit down and ask people this, but how did you first get started in theater?
That's a really good question. Both of my parents have their degrees in music education,
Mm,
from what is now Rowan University, what used to be Glassboro State. And they used to do like opera and musical theater and shows
mhm.
and stuff. So they were just like always very artsy.
Yeah.
My mom ended up being a music teacher. So like we would always sing at the piano or like whatever. There's always music in the house. And then I turned like 2 or like 3, and there's a dance studio right up the street from our
Mm.
house, like 3 blocks away. And my dad was like, she's too small to play sports. Let's put her in dance class. And I like loved it. But I don't think it was like it really stuck. Like I always loved shows and did them in elementary school
It
or
just
like
didn't
whatever.
connect, but you're like,
It
"Oh,
didn't,
these things come together."
yeah, it really didn't like link it all until really I was in 7th grade. Like I was
Mm.
so set on being a gymnast, whatever. Um, and
Look,
then
the
my
skills
seventh
come in
grade,
handy later. So,
it all goes.
yeah.
But it was 7th grade, and we were allowed to audition for the High School Musical, and they were
Mm.
doing Pippin.
Oh, what a
But
good
like,
show.
it's not like someone trying to, like rewrite it or redo it, like just like good old school Pippin.
Mhm.
And they were like, "Oh, you do gymnastics? Like, oh, you dance? Like, wow!" And they like put me in like the senior group, but I got to like tumble and
Oh,
sing
that's so
and dance and
fun.
act all in one show, and I was like,
You're
I
like,
can
"This is
put it
it."
all together. Like, I can like literally meld everything together. Like, I want to do this. Like,
Yeah.
I want to do this. So I like quit gymnastics.
And you were like, "Peace out.
I was like,
Bye."
bye. I'm gonna go do musical theater. But yeah, I
Oh
think
my
it was really
gosh.
7th grade. I like made that decision, and I was like,
Mhm.
this is it. This is the
Yeah, and,
key
like,
thing.
with that was your, like, your overture moment of, like, "Oh, this is what I'm gonna do with my life."
Yeah,
Do you
which
know
is
if it was,
crazy.
like,
I was like 12.
out of curiosity, do you think it was, like, in the rehearsal process you realized that or, like, in performance or
I think it was just like literally the audition.
Mm.
Like it was so cool. We danced in groups. Like we learned a combination, and they were like, "Oh, special skills," and I was like, "What are special?"
You're like, "I don't know."
Like, I don't know what's special about them. And then like they were like, anyone do gymnastics? And I was like, oh. And I don't know, it was just kind of like, oh, like everything I've ever done in my life that I think makes up my personality, I was like, is in one profession. And
Mm.
I like it and I can do it. And I've always like known it. And it's always kind of felt like home. So I was like, huh, this is it. Like, I'm locking in. Never missed a rehearsal, never missed anything. Like, I was like, this is it. I like this.
You're like,
So
final answer that this is the one.
literally, like, deal. Like, I don't need to see the bank. Like, I'm good. And my
Oh my
parents
God.
are always so supportive because they
Mhm.
like love the arts. They get it.
Yeah.
Mom's a little stage mommy, but she's good.
No, I like specifically I have this one memory of your mom because we working I know that you know exactly what it is. Watching Spelling Bee where you played Marcy and you did a friggin' aerial in in the song. Oh my god. It still cracks me up to this day. And like I think she like fell out of her seat. Like
I
quite
know she
literally.
did fall out of the couch. It's not even, you can't even say the seat where like
Yeah, it
someone
was
could
a
really fall
couch.
out of it. It was a
Yeah.
full like sit back, relaxed couch. And she was laughing so hard. She fell out of it. Like, I don't,
It
and my
was
dad was
impressive.
there. Yeah, I mean, my mom like stole the show like that night. Like, my dad came too, and my dad's like so quiet, and like she's like, I could see like her hitting him like, ah! And I'm like, oh my god.
And you're like, can you you're like, please get up. I need to do an aerial. I don't want to hit you in the face. Like
And I think it was like Kirsten Kaiser because it was like Act One, and she was like, oh my gosh, this lady in the front row is so funny. And because I'm adopted, like no one would automatically pair us together.
right.
So
And
I
you're
was
like,
like,
so
yeah, she's crazy.
and you're like,
Only for her to
so
find out later it was my
that's my
mother.
mom. And you're like, yes, that she is, but that was also my mother.
Oh my gosh, spelling bee was so fun.
That was so fun. And another one we worked on, but I like kind of forgot about because I was doing like
Yeah.
I hesitate to call it stagehand. Like I think I like
No.
did like read I did like the gels. I like pulled on the gels so that you'd have different
Right, because
lighting
someone,
during
I
like
don't remember who invented it, but in that
I think it
space,
was
there's
I
like,
think Nick Durst I don't know if he was one who like invented it or he definitely condoned it.
but I remember that he's like, we're gonna have light effects in this show, and like we were like literally in whatever you called that space. I don't even remember.
Literally me standing behind the gymnastics mats that were like up,
Yeah, we
but also
stacked them.
like me
We
like me
stole
like
them,
pulling this like fishing wire so that
and like
a
sometimes they get
gel would
stuck, so you'd have to be
move.
like,
Yeah, some like I remember like a night, I don't know if it was a performance or a dress rehearsal, but like pulling on it and it got stuck and it just like pulled the whole frame down and I
I
was like,
remember
damn it.
that.
Because it was like at the top of the I Love You song too. So like
Yeah, and
it's
it's like
hard to
so
come
sad, and
back.
it's trying to go to like purple.
It's so hard to come back from that. And I felt so bad for them every time. But I'm also like, this is very like handy rigged. Like none of this is like real lighting. We just have
No,
gels over actual light bulbs in the ceiling.
literally.
Like,
I'm like, this is not
student
right. But
run
no,
student
that
run
was
theater is no joke.
literally no joke. That's when you really got to get creative.
Oh,
But no, that show
absolutely.
is so fun.
Yeah.
I'm now realizing how much I worked with Kirsten Kaiser.
Yeah, no, I'm realizing that too.
I'm like,
You're like, wait, Kirsten
because
was
every
also
memory
in
I
that.
have, she's in it, and I'm like, huh, okay,
Oh, okay. That's fine.
that's funny. Oh my gosh,
Oh
no,
my
that was
god.
like such a fun cast,
Mhm.
such a fun show, and like
Yeah.
people fell into their characters literally so well.
No,
Like Matt Healy,
You as Marcy Park made my life. It was so funny. It was
it's
so,
funny
so funny.
because my mom was like, "Oh my gosh, that's you as a kid. Like that's literally you
Like,
as a
no,
child."
literally no nonsense. You were like, "No,
Yeah,
get out of my way."
she's like, and the whole number, like those were all things you actually can do. Like
Yeah.
that, like we bought for you, like we gave you lessons in. And I was like, yeah. She's like, you
Yeah.
played the flute.
Yeah,
And I was like,
exactly. I'm like,
I
it's
I
like down to the
did.
instrument.
I was like, I don't know why, but
You're
I
like,
can.
okay, actual dream roll. Cool, cool, cool.
Literally, I would love to play that again so much.
I feel like anyone who does spelling bee is like, wait, I'm already done. Can I do it again?
Do it again.
Because like I
It's a
did
fun
Olive
show.
and like
Yeah, you
I'm like
did.
I have to go back to it at some point.
But what's so
Like
cool is like I feel like the females minus if you want to keep like the ethnic thing for
Right.
Marcy, but like if you don't and you take that out of it, like all the girls are so like interchangeable in a sense where like
Yeah.
you could also play Schwartzy, you could also like
Yeah.
literally like
No, I would love to play Logan at some point.
Yeah.
Like getting to play with the lisp would be very, very fun.
Oh my God, I remember Emily. She's like, do you want like this lisp or this lisp? I was like, there's two different lisps.
Yeah, it's like a lateral lisp and then like
Yeah.
I don't know what the other one is called, but it's like lisp versus lisp. And like
Yeah, and
it's very
like,
funny.
which one?
She's like, I have it prepared. She's like, which one do you want? And Nick was like, I think he's like doubled over laughing because he's like, I didn't know there was an option.
Or Nick, oh my gosh, one time I had just learned 6 languages from Alexis because she was our choreographer.
Right.
And I like ran it for him for the first time. And he was like, that was amazing. Like, that's so cool. He's like, but is there any way you could do it and like sound a little less tired?
And you're like, no.
I was like, I just learned it. Like, I need to like go do this and run on the treadmill. Like for
you're like this is cardio.
I was like, I'll get there. Just like I just learned.
I just got to re-emphasize the fact that you do like an aerial at the very end of the song. Like
yeah, that was always funny. Every night I was like, all right, you really gotta like like I was like, are you gonna make it? Are you gonna put your hands down?
Oh my God.
Yeah.
I don't think
anyone can do a cartwheel.
I don't think you put your hands down a single performance.
Not performance.
Yeah.
But I definitely did sometimes in rehearsal. I was like, I'm so tired.
You're like, let me just cartwheel it out. It's fine.
I was like, it's still kind of cool. I did a beam dismount in front of Michelle Palk.
Exactly. You absolutely did.
And I just like slowly slid into a split and just stared right at her.
And you're like, hello.
Like, and I was like, hey.
She's like, okay, honey.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my God. And I always like to ask this of my guests, and it's a bit of an unfair question, and I know that going in. But in terms of like ordering like actor, singer, dancer for yourself, what order do you tend to put them in?
In college, especially freshman year, I think that I was like, I'm a dancer who can sing, and I hate straight plays. Like that was me walking into Wagner.
Yeah.
I thought like, you know, Big Fish, Little Pond dance wise, I was like, I'm a dancer. And then we had Anything Goes. My freshman year was our first audition, and I got cut like literally right away. But I also hated tap dancing before I came to Wagner.
That's so funny. That's so funny to me. Oh my God.
And then I remember it was Titanic auditions before Christmas or whenever we do them. And I was like, oh, I don't care about this audition. Like,
books it.
Like, I'm still gonna put my best foot forward, but like, I'm not a Park and Bark musical kind of girl. And then did Titanic and was like, oh, wow. But it took me a while to fall into what I would say now as a singer, dancer, actor.
Yeah.
I think it really came into effect during the pandemic, for sure. Because I loved Wagner, but I definitely felt sometimes put into a box.
Yeah.
When
especially as strong
category.
Or like just being a strong dancer as you are, they'd be like, oh, she's the dancer. Like
yeah, especially at Wagner.
Yeah.
And then like I ended up living in stage 1 and doing a lot of like plays or like the dance project. So I was like, oh, like I'm a dancer. And then I'd go out to some of these dance calls and I'm like, what is this?
Yeah.
Like I did like the Celebrity Cruises audition like my junior year, and I was like, it's hard. Like,
you're like, I don't know.
Like whipping out like quads, and I was like, on both sides. I was like,
there's some scary people out there, and you're like, damn.
And I'm like, we're all 3-inch heels. Like, what?
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh. And then anytime like in big cattle call auditions, I was always more successful when I sang first. But my confidence in my singing was so low at Wagner. But it was definitely like the pandemic and like coming home and kind of like being able to just like really work by yourself.
Right.
and without like outside judgment, because I think college is so hard in that aspect, because like you're surrounded by your peers, you're surrounded by
Yeah.
people your age, you like literally see the competition, but
Right.
like have breakthroughs or like book jobs, and you just are constantly comparing yourself. That like it was good for me to like get out of that environment
Yeah.
and like kind of figure things out and come into my own and like embrace singing more, which is funny. It's what I started with, but I
Yeah.
don't know.
But it's also really interesting because even at Wagner, though, I feel like I saw an arc in you in terms of like your own confidence with your acting and singing, which is really beautiful to watch. So
Thank
it's so
you.
exciting to hear that like even like past that, you feel like you've grown even more. Like that just makes me
Yeah.
happy because
Oh,
like
thank you.
oh, it just yeah, no, absolutely. And like I know you've been going tracking back a little bit and we'll talk more about like your singing and like things like that later, but I know you've always been in and around dance, and you talked about doing gymnastics. Where did you start dance first and then get into gymnastics, or did they kind of happen at the same time?
I was 2 or 2.5 or 3, I don't know, when I started dance, and that was first.
Mhm.
And that was so fun. And I don't remember, I think my dad was just like, my dad was funny. He was kind of like the head of my extracurriculars, which you'd think it was my mom, but it was my dad growing up.
Yeah.
He's like, she should do gymnastics. And my mom was like, all right, like, whatever.
You're like, okay.
And I was 5 when I started that. And I loved it so much. It was so much fun. I switched gyms a couple times, but it was so good. Competed, and like I
Mhm.
was like, this is it. Like I love gymnastics. I want to go to the 2016 Olympics.
You're like,
But yet, like they were like, all right, do a back handspring on the beam, and I was like, why?
you're like, why would
I
I
don't
do
get
that?
it. Like, and I was such an analytic kid that like
Hmm.
they'd be like, jump backwards on the beam and hope your hands land like this, and I was like,
And you're like,
how?
they're just
Like
like throw it, and you're
I'm
like,
literally,
uh
and I'm like, what's the physics in all of this? Like,
yeah,
how do I not like eat the beam?
yeah,
Like,
no.
and I like, yeah, that really held me back in that sport. Cause like I always say, like gymnasts, they're not dumb, but they're very fearless in the sense
Yeah.
they're like, yes, I'll go launch my body like that. Oh, I like literally like chinned the bar and like knocked the wind out of myself. It's okay. I'll get back
Well,
up.
that makes me think of like you guys had done acro with Carissa,
Mm-hmm.
and she took you all to Streb.
Yeah.
And like I'm thinking about the videos that like you and Emily showed me where it's like you all are like being trained to like fall off of scaffolding and land like body like flat horizontal,
Yeah.
because it's like it's not as painful. It's just like learning to control your body in that way. And
Yeah.
there's definitely amount of fearless in there that I'm like, I don't know that I can do that.
That's funny because like that stuff, I'm like, oh yeah, you want me to fall like this? Like, I don't know why I was so comfortable. I'm like, yeah, you can raise the thingy up. Like, I'm okay. Like, or like trapezing. Like that was so
Mhm.
cool to get to do that. But I don't know, gymnastics when like as soon as they were like, please go backwards on this apparatus and then please flip off of this apparatus, I was like, I like the floor.
You're like, there's
It
a lot to
doesn't
think
go
about here.
anywhere. It's
Yeah,
just
that's
the
the thing about like
floor.
with like falling or like doing trapeze and stuff like that. You're like, look, there's only one place I could go.
But yeah,
So
it's a little more comforting in
yeah.
that sense, as opposed to like, oh, will I straddle the beam today, or will my hands miss when I eat the beam today? Like,
Yeah.
it was just weird, but I did love it, and I kept some tricks just for special skills.
Absolutely. And I think this conversation of gymnastics ties into one of the Instagram questions that we got. So at Chris XC34 asked, did you face pressure to pursue gymnastics over theater because of your proficiency, and how did you overcome?
That's a good question. Um, no, I didn't feel pressure to choose. I think it sounds really sad, but at like 12, I was like done. Like I felt really done with like
Yeah.
my gymnastics side and my gymnastics career. Like I was just so tired. I constantly was getting hurt all the time.
Mhm.
Um, So like I was kind of like wavering on my decision to leave and to concentrate maybe more on dance or like possibly a lot of gymnasts going to pole vaulting or diving.
Mm-hmm.
Something still athletic, but as soon as I auditioned in 7th grade, I was like, oh,
And you're like, oh, here's the connection. Here's the bridge I was looking for.
yeah. And like it kind of just like everything kind of fell into place. And my parents were like super chill. If anything, my mom kind of wanted me to quit. Like she's like, you keep getting hurt. Like you're
Yeah.
so like tired. I was trying to switch gyms. Yeah, and like I'm also like 12, 13, like going through puberty. Like I don't
Right.
like want my days free. I don't know. But
To see
no,
your
it definitely wasn't a
friends, hang
hard
out.
decision. And I think my parents are kind of happy too. They're like, ooh, like we can have some money back.
You're like, yeah.
Gymnastics is so expensive.
Yeah. I mean, granted, theater and all those things are too, but you know, we won't talk
Yeah.
about that. Oh dear Lord.
Just a little.
Just a little, but no, I totally understand that because I feel like I hit a point with that because I did soccer in middle school and high school, and I got to that point where I'm like, look, I got the varsity letter. I'm
Yeah.
good. I feel very this was my end. Like, yeah, I
Yeah.
totally
And I
understand that.
definitely like it's sad to say that like, I peaked when I was like 10 and a half, 11. Like that
Well,
was
for
my
certain
peak in
sports and things,
gymnastics.
yeah.
Yeah, and like I, like got a few titles, which was a shock, and fancy medals that are somewhere in a box somewhere in the attic. But yeah, like I had a good run and it taught me a lot, not
Yeah.
only in the like skill sense, but like the brain sense of just like, being like a hard worker and disciplined and
Yeah, because like same thing
loving
for
a craft so much.
yeah, because like I
Yeah.
also had a similar situation with doing taekwondo, and like it's that discipline that it's not necessarily the sport itself, it's the discipline that
Yeah.
came with it when you were learning. Um,
Yeah.
and
It's so
I would
cool.
yeah, yeah. No, and I would consider you a really organized person. Like I think back to being in dance criticism together
Oh
and
gosh.
seeing like how organized your notes were, whether it was like choreography or notes for class, which is really amusing and fun to me. And do you, this is a very like leading question, but do you think it's helped you as a performer?
Yes and no. Because I always joke, I'm like, to my boyfriend, I'm like, I'm so type A. And he's like, I don't even understand really like what that means. Like, and I'm like, you don't have to. Like, I know. Like, it's definitely helped me a lot in just like being on top of things and like my like psycho brain would like literally every year would make like an Excel sheet of the theaters and like what shows they were doing and what shows like were the big shows of the season. Like I would like take like 2, 3 hours when I probably should have been writing a paper or doing a jazz assignment or math. But like I would do that because I was like, like I need to be ready. Like the first day you could apply for auditions, I was applying. I would go into the city and audition sometimes. Really
Mhm.
more so junior and senior year than freshman and sophomore year because it got me in trouble sometimes for missing stuff.
Yeah.
But um no, I don't know. Yeah, I think I just really have always been very organized.
Yeah,
Always
no,
very organized.
absolutely.
Like
I
I
rem
like color coordination.
yes. And your
Super
handwriting
easy.
is so good. I just, like, need the world to know that. I'd just be, like, watching you write, and I'd be like, "How?"
No, I loved that class though, and I loved like talking about all like the things, and it was just open conversation and
Yeah.
just hearing like other people's point of views. No, it was a really cool class,
It
and
was
I'm
a
pretty
really
sure
cool
we sat
class.
next to each other.
Yeah, no, I was very
We
glad for
did.
that. I will and I think back to, even, like, the callbacks for everybody because it was so
Oh,
funny. Mickey pulled me into being assistant director right after the callback list went up because I auditioned first, and so then once he saw that I hadn't gotten a callback for the main stage show, he was like, "Hey, so can I actually steal you as my assistant director instead?" And I'm like, "Sure." He's like, "Cool, callbacks are tonight." And I was like,
you were like
"Okay." And it's funny because I,
awesome.
like, walked into the room and I had this feeling people were like, why is she here? She wasn't on the list. But like at the end of like callbacks, I remember because he had like gone through and was like looking at headshots and all that other stuff. And he like turned to me and Kate and he was like, I would love any like thoughts or
Input.
feedback, like inquiry, like of like how these people are and how you think they would work in a crazy show like this. And I remember
so
being
cool.
like, I sit next to Maddie in dance criticism, and boy, is she friggin' organized. And he was like, good to know. Good to know.
I remember that audition. Oh my gosh, which is funny because it was like
The
that
callback.
audition, like the main
Yeah.
audition was running late. Well, this is the first audition.
Oh, yes, yes,
Was
yes.
running so behind. And again, a straight play. Like I had no interest really. Again, putting best foot forward. That's like always my motto. Like even
Yes.
if you like don't think you're right for it, don't want to do it, like if you're going or whatever, like just put your best foot forward.
Yeah.
The best you can do. But whatever. So I remember it's like 11:15.
Oh God,
Like
yeah,
that's
that
how
went
late.
really late. I forgot about that.
And I was like the last 3 people.
Oh gosh.
And I think it was like a Thursday, which was like my busy class day, and I was like so tired, and we were like sitting around. And I got in there, never had met Nikki, like he didn't know me, and I'm like such a people pleaser, like I want like people to like me. But I was like, "Hi," and he's like, "Oh, like you seem so happy." And I was like, "Yeah, I'm like really tired. I don't even think I have 2 brain cells to rub together, so we're just gonna see how this goes." Like literally, like completely, like just didn't care.
You're like, no
"I'm gonna do
filter. Here
this."
you go. Just letting you know.
Yeah, and that was it. And like he was like, "All right, thanks," and I was like, "All right, bye." Like, because I did my like super racy Korean monologue that I literally found my senior year of high school and have never thrown away, which is so good. But yeah, and I remember
But
hugging Billy Wallace, and like telling him my monologue, like just casually, and he was like,
he's like,
and I just started laughing because that's what you do at the end. And he's like, "What's so funny?" And I was like, "What do you mean? That's my monologue." He's like, "That's your monologue?" He's like, "I thought you were just telling me a story." And I was like, new approach to the material.
That's so funny.
But, and then the callback, yeah, we just told stories.
Yeah, because I think literally the whole thing was, okay, tell me a story. Because we had just gotten back from the summer break. And so, or yeah, that's what it was. And so he was like, tell me a story about something that happened to you this past summer break. And that's all the callback was. Everyone got, I think, like 5 minutes total or
Yeah.
something to that effect.
But we just like went around the circle. Yeah, it was super, super weird.
It was such a strange callback, but also like I feel like it like did reveal a lot, you know?
No, it did. And I just like how, like, because that show is so conversational. And like also, most characters, like, friendship talked for like a lifetime.
Yeah.
So it's just like hearing how you deliver a story, hearing how, like, yeah. And I think that was a really cool way to approach it because I honestly don't know how else you could have approached it.
Yeah, and like even just like it's in the way that it's conversational, but also the way that people tell stories and like they set themselves up in a comedic manner without even like trying to, and how
Yeah,
they relate to others in the room. It was just such a fun callback because I was like, oh, that was a fun like hangout time, but I'm like, oh right, we're in a callback setting. But
literally. I think
yeah,
I talked about my show place experience.
probably, yeah. I think there was, yeah,
Yeah,
it's
that was
funny
my story.
for certain people I remember like their callback stories, and then other ones I'm like, I do not remember.
I honestly don't even remember who else was in that room.
Yeah.
Like, I remember being like, why am I here? Like,
Like, what am I doing? I don't.
and then it was funny because when Lovesick came around, I was still in Peterborough doing my summer contract at the time. So I came to senior year like 2 weeks late.
Oh my
And I
gosh.
missed auditions for the first slot for both theaters.
Hmm.
And I like sent videos to Felicia, and she like dispersed them out
Yeah.
to their respective directors. And Mickey emailed me and was like, "Hey, like, are you going to be back by this date? Like, I'd love to have you in callbacks for Lovesick." And I was like, "Great." I was like, "No, I won't
Mm-mm.
be."
I won't. No.
So I don't even remember what he had me do. I think he had me just like read scenes and send them to him or something. And then he sent me a picture of like my name sticky noted to a chair, and he's like, "This is you at callbacks." I was like, that's really funny. I was like, okay.
Yeah, that
But
sounds like Mickey.
no, yeah. But
Oh
I'm
my
glad he thinks
gosh.
I'm organized. But it like I said, it's a hindrance in the sense where like then I get so in my head when I'm like performing or working through material where like that analytic, very organized brain, it's like not always good.
But in the way, it obviously it was helpful during everybody, but it's also helpful for you now because you're not only in the ensemble of Anastasia. Ooh, did we lose your camera? Oh my goodness. Okay, we heard you at least, so that's a good thing. Wondering where your camera went. Oh no. Let me see. Oh no. Everything okay on your end?
Technical difficulties.
That's totally okay. Can you hear me? Okay, I don't think you can. Oh, there we go. Okay. Hello, folks. This is what live is going. This is what it's like to go live sometimes. And you know what? That is A-okay and good to go. I'm just going to hang out here for a little bit, stall, and see if Maddie can hop back on soon. Because obviously you still want to talk to her. She is currently in the National Tour of Anastasia. She'll be heading back out on the road soon. Oh, and it looks like she's heading back in. Yay! Okay, awesome.
I was stalled.
I don't know what happened either, but I stalled a little bit and we're back on track.
So like, what is happening?
You're like, what's happening? No problems at all. No problem at all. But in talking about your organizational skills, obviously it was helpful during everybody where you were essentially swinging the 5 roles, but it's also helpful now, I'm sure, as since you're in the National Tour of Anastasia currently, you're not only in this ensemble, but you're understudying Anya. How's that been?
Really cool. Definitely experience, because I did like everybody and you're kind of swinging all the roles and everything, and then I kind of did like a weird, like, I was already in the cast, but I swung in the summer at Peterborough in a production of She Loves Me, which was like, I kind of had like 2 weeks in advance to like learn this girl's part. It was very weird.
Yeah.
But like I kind of did that, but I was like, I've never understudied like a lead. Like I've never done that. So I was like, oh, okay.
Oh boy.
And because our rehearsal process was so short, Kyla, our Anya, who's, oh my gosh, she's so amazing. We were never in the same room working on the same material.
So you're like I never get to see you do the thing.
Yeah, so it was never like all of our understudies. It was never like our understudies were like in the room while they were staging scenes, or in the room while they were talking about like character development and stuff. Like we were like learning ensemble numbers and ensemble music and stuff. So like that made it really difficult to even know what was going on, or like where she goes and where she leaves, and like
what's the backstage choreography like,
and all the backstage choreography. So like when we got to like runs of Act 1 or Act 2, or like full runs, I would like record things and like try to organize it stage right. It's an app made for actors. That's a big thing that I use personally, which is why I now have an iPad and it looks like I'm like not staring any direction.
That's okay.
Versus a computer, which is super helpful. But like I really do learn by doing. So swinging and understudying is like super like crazy, especially I, like I said earlier, which they don't know, but I did get hurt a little early on in the tour.
Yes.
So unfortunately I missed my Anya put in because I was hurt.
Gotcha.
So we have 2. Our other girl went on, and then there was another one, and I also missed that one. Unfortunately, because they were when I was out. So I asked, I was like, will I have one ever? They're like, no. And I'm like,
and you're like, great.
Okay. And I've only ever like run little spurts, like when like if like Kyla was out of the room and towards the end of the rehearsal process to let like a swing in my track, and I could also jump in as Anya, which was helpful for both of us.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's very, very crazy. Yeah. But somehow you just kind of figure it out.
Yeah. And you're like, you just have to be confident in it.
Yeah. And it's definitely hard, especially when you're in the show and you're also understudying, because like it's like I want to see where she is, but I'm like, I
You're also,
have
I
to
need to
change.
do my own stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's hard.
And we haven't been able to like catch up and talk in a while, but what was the audition process for like for this show? When was the initial auditions? How many callbacks? How long did
It
it
was
take?
crazy. I, during the pandemic, was a psycho and was auditioning for like everything that I could get my hands on. I signed with an agent um in I guess like March or April or May, I don't know. Before like after we got sent home from Wagner. I signed with JC Williams Agency and he was super helpful in like finding whatever auditions there were.
Mm-hmm.
I auditioned for Tootsie's national tour, literally every national tour that's out right now. I probably auditioned for it. Cats, Waitress, like all of them. And thankfully getting like good feedback, Charlie and Chocolate Factory and callbacks and stuff. But I didn't even see the call for Anastasia.
Mm.
When I worked in Peterborough, I worked with Bill Burns, who was the choreographer of She Loves Me, this show where I kind of swung but kind of didn't. Um, and he like in the summer, right before my senior year, was like, "Oh, I should get you an audition for like Anastasia, like it's going out on a national tour." And I was like, "Oh yeah, like okay." Um, and I was actually it was the day of my final callback for Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, my
Oh my
final
gosh.
callback. Um, and I was like sitting right where I'm sitting right now, like catching up on emails right after the audition, and like Bill messaged me and was like, "Hey, I don't know if you saw, Anastasia is going out on tour again, non-ec." And I was like, "Oh, okay, cool." He's like, "I get a special link to refer people. I want to refer you for the show. Let me
Mm.
know if you ever hear back. If not, like you might have gotten lost in the shuffle." And I was like, "Oh, okay." Um, so I did, and I like filled out the little sheet and like whatever, and I was like, "Oh, that's so cool." Like I was like, "This is just literally a Google form." But I heard back like a couple weeks, I don't even know how long later, and they asked me for all of the Anya packet, and then they were considering me for Countess Lily cover at the time. So all of her packet,
Oh
and
my
then like
gosh.
a song of my own.
So
So it
much
was
material.
like 4 songs, 4 scenes, and like I just had to like self tape it, and I'm so bad at self tapes. Like I could spend years on a 16 bar cut. Like I have to like be like, "Nope, you're done.
Yeah,
Like
you have to
stop."
like give yourself the amount of times and you're like, nope, I'm done.
Yeah, and I was also working full time, and I was like, so I was like trying to find time and like studio space and stuff for like all the other auditions. Because I don't know whose living room is big enough to do some of those combinations. It's
Never.
clearly not mine.
Yeah.
Um, so I did all those and I didn't hear back for a little while. And then they reached out to me and was like, "Hey, can you do a one-on-one with our music director?" And I was like, "Yeah."
Like,
But I don't know
absolutely.
how all of my callbacks for this show like lined up with like 2 to 3 days after my COVID vaccine doses. Um, so
Oh
I was
gosh.
like always just at the tail end of feeling better. So like I had to like go into this commute into the city. This was in person,
Oh
which
gosh.
was really cool.
Yeah.
And it was literally just like the casting director, Tom, the like overall music director of the show, and like me at
Oh,
like this
that's so
really weird
cool.
studio I've never been to. And he's like, "Yeah, we're just gonna like sing through the material." And I was like,
Like,
"Okay."
cool.
I was like, "This is the first time like I've seen like another human being." Like, hello. But no, and it was super cool to have that time,
Yeah.
and just get to work through the music so casually. And it's weird because it's like not like really an audition or a
You're like,
callback,
is this
but
a
it
voice
is
lesson? Like
like, but they call it a work session, and I'm like, I feel pressure. But no, it went really, really well. And then I didn't hear anything for, oh, no, they were like, "Have you sent us dance stuff yet?" And normally, like, I dance first or you send everything at once. And I was like, "No, I haven't even gotten like a packet." They're like, "Oh, well, yeah, I'll send that to you now." Like, and I was like, "Oh, okay."
Yeah, okay.
And they're like, you just need to do like the jazz because there's so much ballet in this show
Mm.
and point work, and like some of the audition for like Odette is literally they do 16 flautes and then stop and then do 16 more all on the same take
Oh my
on point.
gosh.
And I'm like, don't make me do
You're like, please don't make me do that.
I can't, like I literally can't do
Yeah.
it. But I literally just have to do like the little character Charleston jazz number that we do in Paris, and I find a studio and run it and just film it and send it. And then I didn't hear for a little while again, and they were like, "Hey, save the date. It's an in-person partnering audition." And I was like, "Okay." And then like I didn't hear anything about like where it was or the date or the time or like anything. And I emailed them. I was like, "Hey," and
You're like,
she's
so
like, "Oh
this
my
is
god."
a callback in theory.
Yeah, I was like, "Oh my god." She's like, "Oh my god, I'm so sorry. Like it never sent to you." And I was like, "Oh, okay."
Oh god.
Um, but then all that information then told me like, "Oh, the whole callback's on point." 3 days before. And I was like, "Oh."
No.
Like I assumed I might have to do some, but I didn't know that it was
Right.
like a point callback. So I like my had like my brain was like seizing and I was like freaking out. But we did it and we
Oh
were
my god.
there and had to do the paw, which no from me. And
It's
I
a
was
no
so
from me.
discouraged after that. I was like, oh my God, like, okay, like this is it, like whatever. Like, I mean, like I did it and I did it to the best of my ability at that time, like whatever.
Yeah.
But we still had to sing and like do other material. And then one girl in the bathroom before I sang was like, "Oh yeah, like this is the final callback." And I was like,
You're like,
"What?"
is this? You're like,
And she's like, "Yeah, it like said it at the top of my email." And I was like, "It did not say that at the top of my email." I was like, "Ah, like pressure."
you're like, don't
Like
tell me that.
I was like, "Because what I just did was not what I wanted it to be." Um, and plus I really haven't auditioned in person too much. And yes, like I was the first to sing, I think,
Mhm.
from being back from a break or something. And they were super, super great. It was like the whole creative team, and they were just so
Mhm.
nice and so supportive. But I had so much material
Right.
to do. I did they we did one Anya scene and an Anya song. They're like, okay, great, 180. Let's do all the Lily stuff, like the Lily song and a Lily scene, which are two completely different stratospheres.
Right.
And then they're like, oh, like, can you now do like the female ensemble packet song? And I was like, I never got it. They're like, oh, great, we'll just learn it right now. And I was like, oh,
Oh,
okay.
great.
And like, luckily, it's just in my dreams of the octave, so like it's not like, but it's like very like soprano-y. And I was like, okay, I just went from like mixing to belting to very, very legit high C hitting.
Oh god.
Nah, nah.
You're like, my
Um,
brain and vocals are fried.
yeah, and like just like pure adrenaline. And they were like, "Thank you so much," and I was like, "Oh yeah." But like you said, like dancer, singer, actor, singer, dancer, whatever. Like I was like, I've never more in my life in an audition felt like a singer first
Yeah.
until like that audition. I was like, I am a singer first today. Like nothing else.
Oh my gosh.
Like
And then
okay, singing act.
I was gonna say, how long was it after that final callback then that did you
Um,
hear?
it definitely was a week ish, because it was early July. Um, and my brother's birthday is in mid July, and I took
Mm.
him out for his birthday. He wanted to so desperately go to Six Flags. And I brought him, but then I got a call from another show or production, and they offered me, like, they gave me an offer, and it was another kind of like touring esque thing. And I was like, oh, okay, like, thanks so much. Like, I'll get back to you. And they were
Still
super,
holding
super
out
great.
for
And I was still
Anastasia.
holding out for Anastasia, but I was like, oh, it's always better when you have something to like be like, hi, I got an offer, just want to see what I'm
Yeah.
doing with you guys, like what's going on. And plus I had dropped my agent by this point because I knew like I possibly was getting a job. I didn't want to pay him money. So I was doing this all myself, kind of communicating with everyone. So I emailed the casting person I was working with Anastasia, and it's like, hey, I got another offer. I don't know how time sensitive it is, but I just want to like let you know. Like I know like final callbacks were only like a week ago or not even. Like I'm just reaching out, and literally within like 5-10 minutes they were calling.
Oh my
and
gosh.
I was like,
that was smart of
at
you.
Six Flags. And I'm like running around like trying to find like a quiet place. And yeah, and she was just like, hi, thank you for telling us. We're like waiting to like have like the official sign off from Steven. Just Steven, who like wrote the show, Steven. So like,
just
oh yeah.
Steven.
I was like, oh yeah.
Yeah,
Steven.
of course.
Just Steven. And I was like, oh, okay. And he's like, yeah, but he's in like Disney or something, or like he was on vacation or something. And they're like, if we don't hear back in a little while, like we're just gonna like go ahead with the cast we have chosen. And she's like, so I gotta tell you, like it's looking pretty great for you. And I was like, okay. But she's like, but I can't pull the trigger and say yes.
And I'm sure you also
like,
weren't sure, like, you're like, cool, but where am I in this casting?
And I was like very lost, but I was like really excited, but I was like, do I get to be excited? I was like, this is a very odd phone call. Like, it's not like a yes, but it's not like a no, but it's not also a maybe. And I was like, I'm like, and my brother and his girlfriend were with us, and I was like, I don't know if I'm happy. Like,
you're like, I have truly no idea.
Literally no idea. But I was like, whatever, like 1.25 offers, 1.5 offers. I was like, I feel pretty good. Like,
yeah.
Okay. Possibly booked and blessed. And then maybe the next day or 2 days later, I was getting ready for work and I missed the initial call.
Oh my God.
And then I called back and she's like, hi. She's like, it's official. Like, we're offering you the National Tour of Anastasia. And I like didn't even ask questions. I was like, yes. I was like, okay, thank you. Like, and I just walked down the stairs. I remember like I was like in my khaki shorts and my navy blue polo, like getting ready for work. And I just like remember holding my phone in my hand and like tears are just streaming down my face. Luckily my brother and his girlfriend were still visiting us. So I like literally just like walked straight up to my mom and was like, ah! Like literally just completely ugly crying. And I was like, I have to go to work. I didn't even call out. And then it wasn't until later I knew that I was going to be understudying and like my part and my track and everything.
Oh my gosh.
It was quite magical.
Quite magical, but also like such
years.
Yes. Yes. Oh my God. After all that like time of not performing and then such a long audition process, you're like, will this ever end?
And especially because like I was up for so many things before the pandemic, and then during the pandemic I was auditioning like crazy, and I was literally like thankfully getting like callbacks for like the tours and everything.
Yeah.
And I was just like, there was like Charlie like felt like didn't book that, and like then it was Cats, and I like went into like a couple in-person auditions for Cats. And Tootsie, and I was just like getting like super discouraged, and I was like,
like, and then this one then, came like, in right in time.
Yeah, and I was just like, oh, I was like, okay, like happiness is real.
Oh my God,
still feel her.
Yeah, and we've already hit the hour point, but I still have a few more things to hit on before we hop off here. But I do have a lovely little Instagram question from Liam Abate. What's been your favorite part of performing on tour?
Ooh, I think for me, it's traveling and like seeing all the different theaters.
Yeah.
Which is so cool. Because like we have our lovely, our theater at Wagner.
Yes.
And I've worked at like different theaters. But it's definitely cool to see like theaters on the West Coast. Like I've never been to the West Coast. And really, yeah, just to travel and see new places. I was really bummed about Canada, but they have been rescheduled for a later date.
Hey, there you
Um,
go.
but I'm so excited to go to Seattle on Monday. There's a little bit of like weariness with traveling and COVID and like all that stuff, but
Yeah.
you know, we have a phenomenal team that like we get tested every day,
Oh,
every
that's
day.
amazing.
Um, and yeah, it's just really well organized and like everyone feels very like supported and very safe.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I definitely think it's traveling
Yeah.
and like
I could imagine.
just seeing all of these different things and also, yes, performing, but
Yeah.
mostly traveling.
Is there anything in particular, like name one big one that maybe you didn't expect during the touring process?
Ooh, I didn't, I mean, I expected it, but I didn't realize how difficult it was to food budget and
Mm.
also like get really creative. Like people, myself included, have bought like these like little, I think they're called by Dash, little griddles,
Oh,
and we
interesting.
cook on them in our hotel room. Like eggs or like saute spinach, one girl does. Like it's just how creative you have to get with like food and like trying to save money.
Yeah, because it
Because our
adds
per
up.
diem, yeah, our per diem isn't too much a week. So it's just figuring that out, which I think is definitely the part where I expected it, but I really didn't get it until I did it.
Yeah,
Where I'm
for
like,
sure.
granola bars are great.
You're like,
And
just
DoorDash.
yeah, yeah. So obviously, for those who weren't sure, did not know, you've been on a nice little holiday break from tour, which is nice. You guys got a break in between things, but you're hitting the road again on Monday. And how
Yes.
long are you going to be on tour?
Till May, until our little random 2 week layoff in May. And then the tour, my experience on the tour, for all I know, will end in June 26th, 5 days after my birthday.
Nice.
Um, but yeah, so we got a whole leg of the tour to do and to bring to the West Coast and all over in Texas and all the fun places like
Yeah.
New Orleans. I'm so
Oh,
excited.
that's going to be so exciting. So, people who are watching, like, look, this is going to be out there for a bit. Like, you have time to catch her. You have
If you
time
want
to
an
catch the
excuse to
show.
travel,
Exactly.
come
Exactly.
visit. That's literally my parents. They're like, or my aunts and uncles are like, well, maybe we'll fly out to like New Orleans or Charleston or
Just you're like,
Florida.
yeah, make it a
And I'm like,
vacation. You're like, okay.
okay. I mean, it's better than going like to like Spokane or Boise
True.
or like, you know, like if you want to go to the fun places, we're
Oh
going
my
to a
god.
couple. So I'm really
Where can
excited.
people find you on social media?
So I'm on Instagram. I honestly couldn't even tell you my Instagram handle. I think it's like at Maddie underscore Kendall, but the L's are ones.
That sounds right. That sounds right.
That sounds like something. I'm also on Facebook that I don't use that often, but I do have a website, which is just my full name, MadelineKendall.com. So
Beautiful. Yay. You can find me on Instagram and Twitter at Laura_Marjoram and my website, lauramarjoram.com. You can find this
woo!
lovely show at Overtures Show on Instagram. 2 S's. It looks funky, but I promise it's accurate. And obviously, if you're watching this, you're here on YouTube watching it. But feel free to look up more episodes here. You'll always find us on Overtures Show. And the next stream will be on Monday, the 24th at 12 p.m. with our good friend LB Cespedes. So it's going to be
LB!
so much fun to hang out with him. I'm sure we'll talk even more about everybody because,
Oh, yeah.
of course, absolutely.
Literally,
At this point, I'm
yeah,
just going to
so
slowly get everyone in that cast. It'll be great.
get
Uh,
Mickey.
Honestly, yeah. Yeah. Like once I get through everyone, then it'll be Mickey and then we'll just like bring it all in. It'll be fantastic.
Definitely. That'd be so fun. And we have
But
a reunion.
yes, exactly. Oh, that'd be so sweet.
So, so sweet and
Thank
so
you.
sad.
I know, literally though. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much for coming on. It's
No,
been
thank
so
you for
fun to
having
catch
me. This
up.
was so fun.
Yes.
Literally so
And
cool and so
we'll
fun.
say goodbye for now to everyone. Oh, before we say goodbye, do you have any final thoughts for viewers live and in the future?
Just kind of keep going. Like the last 2 years have been rough to say the least. And I know
Yeah.
everyone has had a different experience, but like we're gonna figure it out, and
Absolutely.
shows are gonna keep going, and there's gonna be more opportunities, and everything will be fine.
Yeah, absolutely. And with that lovely little nugget of positivity, we're gonna head out. But thank you so much for
Okay.
being on, and thanks everyone
Thank
for